Hello, and my name is Bruce Gilson, and today we're learning about the introduction to prints, basic system elements. It's gonna be great. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We're gonna be diving into really just the basics of introduction to how to read prints. But in order to know how to read prints, you need to understand what are the basic elements of prints. And when I say prints, I'm talking about like AV diagram, blueprint type stuff. All right, so we're gonna learn a lot today. Make sure you got yourself caffeinated and you're ready to dive in, because here we go. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna understand 4 basic elements to systems, right? To AV systems, whatever kind of systems. There's 4 basic elements. The first one is input. And we have input way over here on the left side of the print, because that's where inputs go. And it's gonna make more sense here in just a second. The next element is outputs. And outputs go way over here on the right side of the print. And that's gonna make more sense here in just a second. So inputs, outputs, got it? Left side, right side. Next piece, distribution. Now distribution is how information, data, input is getting from the input to the output. It's gotta go through something. And that something in our AV industry is typically some form of wire, or it might be wireless, but normally it's wire, okay? So that's distribution. And then this big gap in the middle is called processing. Most signals have to go through some form of processing. Now, this can be applied to a lot of different types of systems. It's not just AV systems, it's like any basic system. So let's talk about our bodies, for example, all right? We all have mouths, and if I take food and I put it into my mouth, that is input, all right? And then it goes down my throat, that is distribution. Then it gets to my stomach, and my stomach begins to churn and work on all the food. Guess what that is? That's processing. And then once it gets into small pieces, it goes into my upper intestine and my lower intestine. That is also like a mixture of processing and distribution together. And then I have output. I'm gonna let you use your imagination of what my output actually is. But that's a basic system. So when we're talking about this, we're gonna talk about it in specifics to audiovisual systems, but you can really apply it to any kind of system. Input, distribution, processing, output. There's the fundamentals. Let's take a look at how it applies to a video system, okay? So we've got a video system here that's a little bit complicated. There's a lot of different pieces. We've got some video switchers, some ATEMs. We've got some distribution wall plates and some SDI wall plates and distribution cables and a video hub and distribution cables and converters. And let's talk about it element by element, okay? The first thing we've got that begins this video system is 2 different video switchers, just a basic Blackmagic ATEM video switcher, okay? These are gonna be SDI video switchers. We're gonna call these our inputs, okay? And then in this system, those are coming out SDI, and that is our distribution. SDI is a type of cable if you're unaware. And then we're gonna hit a wall plate, right? So the switcher is on the desk. We got an SDI cable coming off the desk, and then it's going down to a wall plate in the wall so it can go off to a far away destination. Well, that wall plate is going to just be another, it could be processing. If it's an active wall plate, it's changing it. Could be distribution. If it's a passive wall plate, it's just passing it through. So then we're gonna go back into SDI, because behind that wall plate, we now have SDI going off into Never Never Land, which is called the rack room, okay? Inside the rack room, we have a video hub. And if you're not familiar with the SDI video hub, it's got a bunch of ins and a bunch of outs, and you can send one thing to anything, basically. So in this particular example, we've got our ATEMs coming into 2 sides. Then we got our video hub, and our video hub is a form of processing because it could be scaling, it could be changing, it could just be passing through. So it's a mixture. It's kind of like the intestines. It's doing a mixture of distribution and processing together. Then we're going to distribute it again down an SDI wire, and we're going to hit SDI to HDMI converters. Now these converters represent processing because it's going to be converting the SDI signal into an HDMI signal. Then we're going to come out again into distribution. We're going to distribute down an HDMI cable, and finally we're going to hit our two TVs, TV1 and TV2, which is our output, okay? So that's a really easy way now to begin to understand the way that the system flows. Input, distribution, to some processing, to distribution, to processing, to distribution, to processing, to distribution, and then output. Now that is a video system. Kind of complicated, but still fairly simple. Let's take another simple look at a really basic audio system. Our input is a microphone. Unfortunately for you, you have to hear my voice, and it's in a microphone. So that's the input for audio. In this example, the microphone is going into an audio mixer. That audio mixer is a form of processing, all right? Then the mixer is going into an amplifier. This right here is distribution. Most likely it's a couple of XLR cables, right? So that's going from the mixer into the amp. Now the amp, once again, is processing. It's taking that signal, it's converting it, and it's turning it into a powered signal so it can go off to our speakers, which once again, we have a couple of wires, and that's distribution. And guess with me what kind of system basic the speakers are. Output. Man, you're smart. I like it. So here's our output on this basic audio system. Let's take another look. Lighting systems, okay? Our lighting console, this is a little bit tricky because really a console does a ton of processing, but it's got faders on it, right? And those faders is really the input of the operator inputting data of what they want to have happen through their console. Then the console does some processing inside of it as well. But then outside of the console, you're gonna either come out ArtNet or DMX. This isn't about lighting type of cables and distribution information, but you should know there's two basic ways to come out, ArtNet or DMX. That goes into our DMX splitter. Now our DMX splitter, if you're coming out ArtNet, and this is converting it into DMX, technically it's processing. If you're coming out DMX and all it's doing is just, it's called a distribution amplifier, it's just distributing it to multiple different locations, it's not totally processing, but you still get the right idea, right? Is that now we've got processing in the middle, then we're coming off our DMX splitter, we got a DMX line, that's distribution. And then we go into the lights themselves, and the lights are our output. So if you were reading prints, this is the way that the prints would flow. It would flow from input to distribution, to processing, to distribution, to output. And now you just learned something. You learned the basics to reading prints and kind of basic system elements. Here's the challenge I've got for you. Take some time to think through in your own experience, what are some elements that you've engaged with, and are they inputs, outputs, processing, or distribution? Maybe you can think about a camera. What type of element is a camera? Maybe you could think about a projector. What type of element is a projector? Or maybe you can think about different types of speakers or other things that you've come across and really try to understand and begin to categorize those things in your mind as to where they fall in the flow of basic systems. And I also challenge you to start trying to map out the way that you think a system flows, a system that you're familiar with, maybe a system that you've got in your house. How does the cable company get cable into your house? In a very basic way. These little exercises actually really help you begin to understand system flow so that when you go engage with the system for the very first time, you're actually ahead of the curve because you know basics. Hey, thanks for joining. I hope you learned something. If you did, this is the time where I say, hey, subscribe, hit like, tell me what's up, leave a comment, and I'll see if I can reply to you. All right? Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.